what's up, guys? We're going to talk about two videos today. I put in the link as always. Put a link. Man, I messed up my first sentence. I'm going to put the link in the description. Two videos we're going to talk about. One is the debate between Destiny and JonTron, two popular YouTubers. The other video is by Sargon, one of his side channels, in which he talks about the terrorist attack in London. So let's just go through why I have serious problems with both of those videos. Now, I'm not going to do a formal, I'm going to play the clip and then talk point per point, because that just takes way too long. And the point I can get across I can do much easier if you just watch the video, or just know what I'm talking about. You don't have to watch the whole video, just I'm going to say what they said and then counter it. So let's start with the first one. So basically, Sargon's video was saying that this terrorist attack in London is the ever-growing list of Islamic terrorist attacks in Europe, or in Britain in particular, and that's why he believes that they should ban Muslim immigration to Britain, or to Europe in general. He talks about Europe in general, but since he lives in Britain, this terrorist attack occurred in Britain. That's what he specifically talks about that country too. But in general, he would want to see no Muslim immigration into Europe at all. So any Muslim country outside, any Muslim outside Europe, he doesn't believe shouldn't be allowed to immigrate to that country. Now, the reason why I have a problem with that is that his logic he uses is just completely fucking retarded. He says Islam teaches them to become radical, to become killers, to kill non-believers all the time. So therefore, they have a ideology that is incompatible with our values, our democracy, and therefore they shouldn't be let in because they're just going to destroy the country. He agrees. If you ask him on Twitter, or if he actually responds to one of your comments on YouTube, that's what he says. I'm not trying to twist his words or say something he doesn't say. No, that he is open in that position. He believes Islam is incompatible with Western democracy. So basically, how this boils down to, how I know that he is incorrect in this, is that Islam does not teach Muslims to become radical, bloodthirsty killers and just kill non-believers wherever they say. Now, hold on. As soon as I say that, the right-wingers will jump on Google and point out all these examples as showing that examples of Islamic terrorists killing Westerners. That doesn't mean that Islam teaches that. If Islam does indeed teach that, then shouldn't every single Muslim on the face of the planet just suddenly go into jihad mode and kill Westerners all the time? Like, Islam teaches for them to pray 5 times a day. Almost all Muslims, as they're practicing, pray 5 times a day. That is something Islam teaches. We see in the text and we see their actions that practicing Muslims do that. So that how we know that Islam teaches that. We see the overwhelming majority of Muslims do not engage in violent jihad against Western non-believers just for the hell of it, like in non-self-defense situations. So I don't know how Sargon can sit there and look at the vast majority of Muslims not doing something and saying, oh yeah, Islam teaches them to do something. Where? The Muslims all across the world must be really sucky Muslims because they're not doing something that you say Islam teaches them to do. The vast majority of them must suck at being Muslims. It's just that is the only conclusion you can come to. I don't know how you can sit there and say that something teaches a whole billion, more than a billion people to do something, and the vast majority of them, 99, you can't calculate the stat exactly. This is way too many people to encompass. But the overwhelming vast majority of Muslims, there's Muslims down the street in our neighborhood. There's Muslims across in the next neighborhood. There's Muslims that go to my place of work, to my college, and guess what? They don't kill anyone. They don't attack anyone. They're just like me and you, normal human beings who are just living out their lives, not bothering anyone. So how can you say that Islam teaches this? Now the right-wingers disproved on that theory that vast majority of Muslims don't do anything. Now let's say we're going to get all these texts, that these Quranic verses and these hadiths who say all these violent things. Oh, see, look, they're preaching it, they're teaching it. It's written right here, and that's why they do it. There are a million different ways to interpret each part of the Quran. There is no one single interpretation, because everyone interprets literature or media or text or books or songs anything that physically exists, ideas that don't physically exist, people interpret them differently. So there are some people who interpret Islam to mean kill all Western unbelievers every chance you get, and that's ISIS. I'm not denying that this doesn't occur. I'm not denying that Muslim terrorists do not exist. All I'm saying is a very small percentage of them, and it's only the strictest interpretation that result in these actions. The vast majority of Muslims interpret these verses to mean different things. Like, they constantly, the right wingers constantly say, oh, there's the verse here, kill non-believers. Okay, well, if you actually studied history, which you didn't because you didn't think it was important, if you actually learned Arabic to read this, which you didn't think was important, so therefore you're reading a translation, you know, and meaning and context is lost in translation. If you knew the time and place and the context in which this particular verse was revealed, which again you don't because that's just Islamic propaganda, and your degree in engineering obviously taught you how that you know this stuff better than me when my major was global affairs and my concentration Middle Eastern studies. No, obviously you and your stupid fucking welding job, you know more than me about Islam. Yeah, because you read it on InfoWars and Breitbart. Yeah, I know. It's just, it's so fucking amazing. If you actually knew anything about Islam and history, then you would know that particular verse is in the midst of a battle when the Muslims were attacking this specific fortress, and Muhammad was saying, kill them, the enemy that betrayed them and backstabbed, and they're currently attacking him. There's nothing wrong with that statement. That's like going through General Eisenhower's, radio message in World War II, looking to where he said, kill them all, when he's talking about this particular base, this German base, and saying, oh, General Eisenhower, he was racist against Germans. Look, he was talking about Germans and he said kill them all. It's just, that is your interpretation skills. That is what you're actually doing, but you don't know it because you have no knowing of context or historical meaning. That is how way off your interpretation, what you are gathering from is, that's how off it is. That's why I mean the analogy is something you can understand, Eisenhower and the Germans. That's just completely fucking retarded. You could do this for any other ideology or religion. You could take all these Christian verses that tell Christians to kill non-believers and to kill their brothers if they don't submit to Christianity and submit to Jesus, and you could take that text and you could look at all the action of the Christians across the world who are killing people, raping people, mugging people, assaulting people, stealing things, just creating havoc. That's why I hate about Sargon's fucking videos. He acts like Muslims are the only one that are doing any of these crimes across the world. You know, Christians aren't committing terrorism, Jews aren't committing terrorism, Hindus aren't committing terrorism, people of no specific religion whatsoever are committing terrorism. No, it's only Muslims that are doing it. That's all he makes videos on. Now, I know he knows that dialogue, conversation, has a direct meaning and indirect meaning. Meaning, when you say something, people understand it as what you say, and then the context of what you don't say, like it's unspoken. So when he constantly makes videos lamenting about Islamic terrorism and how he doesn't want any more in their country, he doesn't want immigration to their country, but he consistently ignores terrorist attacks committed by Christians, Hindus, Jews, etc., etc., that gives the indirect meaning to his audience that, first of all, he doesn't think that it happens, otherwise he would cover it. When a horrible terrorist attack committed by Hindus against Muslims, for example, in India happened, but he never talks about it. All he talks about is Islamic terrorism, which gives the indirect message to his viewers is that he thinks this is worse than everything else, that's why he's only talking about it, or he thinks those other things don't exist. Like, I would imagine if I theoretically could actually get on a live stream with him and talk with him, which actually that would be great, to be on a live stream with him and talk about these different issues. It's just like, why do you never talk about the Hindus who are raping Muslim women, burning down Muslim villages in India? All these crimes, all these terrorist attacks against Muslims solely because they're Muslim, you never talk about. You never talk about Hindu terrorism, you know? You act like it doesn't exist. This doesn't affect you in your silly little English town, then it just doesn't matter. It's just no grave concern. That's indirectly what he's telling his audience when he only focuses on Islamic terrorism and ignores terrorism committed by every single other demographic you can think of. The problem with his logic is that you can use his logic to pass this discriminatory bills or legislature against any other demographic because all you have to do is pull up stats of, let's just say, white men. I posted on his video a comment, a very long comment. I don't know if you respond to it. He hardly ever responds to every single comments because he gets so many comments. But I'm like, Sargon, using your logic, we could take all the stats committed by white men. He's white. So I'm using his demographic to show him how retarded his logic is when used towards a demographic that he belongs to. So he's white. I put up all these stats from across Europe, since he talks about all of Europe and Britain, all the stats about white people, white men in particular, raping women, committing assaults, committing burglaries, assaulting people, murdering people, you know, all these things. Using your same logic, we shouldn't have any more white men come to Britain. No, they're dangerous. Look at all these people they've killed. Look at all these people they've assaulted. Look at all these burglaries they've committed. They're obviously a problem demographic. There's something within white men, I don't know what it is, but they commit all these crimes. We keep on telling them to stop, and they just don't. So we just have to ban them all. Now you see how retarded that logic is when I turn it and use it against a demographic that you belong to, that Sargon belongs to. It's just, you can use stats of crime stats to justify any legislature, like banning people from certain countries, making immigration bans, you know, stuff like that. Any legislature, and you can pull up stats. It's just like, what is your fucking point? Yes, Muslims commit crimes. Muslims commit terrorism. White people commit crimes. White people commit terrorism. There's no point. There's no point in using these stats to justify legislature, because every single demographic on the face of the earth commits crimes and commits terrorism. There's just no point. It doesn't matter. If you want to do that towards one demographic, you're telling everyone else, oh, we can use it against any other demographic that we don't like. We can use stats, the same logic, and then we descend into madness with every demographic being at war with each other, constantly banning each other, constantly passing legislature that that discriminate against other demographics they don't particularly like. Because all they have to do is pull up stats showing that they create problems, and that if you want these problems to go away, you have to ban them. Like that's what the right wingers constantly say. That people who do not agree with them, oh, they don't care about the people killed by Islamic terrorists because they don't want to ban Islamic terrorists. They don't want to ban Muslims from their country. It's just like using your same logic. If we don't ban Christian men or white men from coming to Britain, then we don't care about all the people killed by white men or Christian men. I mean, yes, we care about victims, but you can't blame a whole demographic for the actions of a few people who just so happen to be in that same demographic. It makes no fucking sense. It's a double standard. When any other demographic is non-Muslim, any other religion, any other ethnic group commits crime, Sargon just sits there, doesn't make a video about it, doesn't care. As soon as a Muslim terrorist commits a crime, commits a terrorist act, he makes a video about it saying, yeah, we should ban Muslims. This is another reason. Add this to the list of Islamic terrorist acts in Europe, so we should just ban it. And it's just like, do you not see your double standard? You're just hypocritical. You constantly say we can't judge people based on a whole demographic. Each person is his own individual person who's responsible for his or her actions alone and not responsible for anyone else's. He constantly espouses it on his channel. But when it comes to Muslims, no. All that logic flies out the window. He's like, no. All Muslims should pay the price for the crimes and terrorism committed by a few tiny percentage of Muslims. And he admits that he knows that not all Muslims are terrorists. He admits that. But yet I don't know why he promotes legislature that discriminates against all Muslims for the actions of a few. It just doesn't make any sense. What he will argue is that I know not all Muslims are terrorists, but it's worth to discriminate against them to eliminate the victims by the few Islamic terrorists. To which say, okay, using your same logic, again, you can use that against any demographic. You'll say, well, white men don't kill that many people in Britain or in Europe, and you say, do you not care about those victims? If you don't want to ban them, then you just don't care. If you want to stop these deaths, then we have to ban them. If you don't ban white men, they will continue to kill across Britain and Europe as they do all the time. I know the media doesn't report on it. I know Sargon doesn't feature it on his channel, but they do all the time, and he doesn't talk about it because it doesn't fit his narrative. He criticized CNN for not lying about specific things, but just posting half-truths and not saying the whole story. But yet he is guilty about this he is guilty of this himself, and he just doesn't give a shit. he is true in reporting that these Islamic terrorist acts happen. I'm not denying that they don't happen. But the fact is, he's reporting on these. He's talking about these terrorist attacks, saying this is the reason why we should ban Muslims. But he never, ever talks about terrorist attacks committed by any other religion or any other demographic or social cleavage. It's just, that's the half-truth. He's not reporting that, oh yeah, Muslims do bad things, but so do every other demographic on the face of the fucking earth. No one is a fucking angel, so there's no point in creating legislature based off that, because you could use that logic to ban anyone. Now, I noticed I didn't even get to Jontron's comments. Sargon's comments, which I was going to do both in the same video, but we're already at like 15 minutes here, just on Sargon, so I guess I'll do a separate video on Jontron's stupid comments, you know, but it's just, it's sad, because I really liked Sargon's videos last year before he started becoming a Trump spokesperson and only reporting on the stupid, not valid criticism of Trump, and he vowed he would never criticize Trump at all because the media already does that enough, so he's never going to do it. I mean, that's just, that throws your credibility and your supposed objectivity just completely out the window. When you say, I'm just never going to criticize someone because the media already does it, so I'm just never going to do it. I mean, that's not objective. I know he's not alt-right, but the fact that he parrots the same arguments as alt-right people, the fact that he does exactly what the alt-right does, always criticizes the left every single time and never comments any of the stupid things that the right wing does. I know he's not alt-right. He says he doesn't, so I'm going to take him at his word that he's not. But the fact that he acts exactly like one, he's just as bad as them. It's like, I don't know. Shit, there's like a group of people who rob banks for money, and someone else is with them in this group that robs banks. And, well, I'm not robbing to make my own money. I'm robbing to, you know, take a stand against the bank company or something, whatever. You're just as bad. Like, I know you're not alt-right, but the fact that you always criticize their opponents and always elevate them, you just look like an alt-right troll to me, like an alt-right spokesperson. You never act like the right does anything wrong, because if they would, you would feature it in This Week in Stupid, for example, but you never, ever do.